Hey everybody, it's me, Tom Daldin from the PBS TV show Under the Radar. I'm at Stahl's Auto Collection in Chesterfield Township, awesome place, and I'm with Bob Larivee, one of the coolest guys in the, I guess, car show business, and here to talk about one of the coolest hot rods ever made, which is the, what is right behind us, the Mysterion.
Yes.
And this goes way back with you, doesn't it?
It really does, because I met Ed Roth in 1960, and it was really a thrill to have a chance to meet all my heroes, and Ed was certainly one of them.
Yeah, it was Ed Big Daddy Roth, right?
That's right.
And he designed this car.
Yes, and meeting Ed was really different because I was brought up in a very conservative family.
Yeah.
And I'd never met anybody like Ed, didn't even know they existed. And when I met Ed, it was like, wow, you know, here's a guy that's really way out, and yet was a really super guy. And in fact, we became such good friends, I even went to his funeral. So I always valued his friendship, and I ended up buying 3 of his cars, the Outlaw, the Beatnik Bandit, and the Mysterion, the original Mysterion.
All 3 incredible hot rods.
Yeah.
And Ed was really more of a designer or an artist than he was a gearhead, right?
Well, unfortunately, he wasn't an engineer.
Yeah, because I understand this car wouldn't really have run
and that was
well.
the real problem with this car, the frame especially. We kept having problems with the frame because with the 2 engines, the car weighed a lot, and the frame just wasn't built strong enough for it, and that was one of the main problems, and that was why we quit showing the car, actually. Right. But this car was built as a tribute to Ed, and followed the exact lines of the original one, and hopefully corrected all the faults. So.
Yeah, if you get a chance to come to Stahl's Auto Collection, you've got to see this car, the Mysterion. You'll never see a hot rod quite like it. Another reason, Bob, I'm such a huge fan of yours is because Autorama, I was in radio for years, and it was our favorite car event to go to because it was the most fun because of the cars and the people.
Well, it started as a hobby, and I had no idea. You know, after I had my first success in Toronto in 1960, my folks said, well, put the money in the bank, and within 20 years we were producing right at 100 events in the United States, England, Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii.
Wow.
So we took the concept of Autorama that we had learned at Detroit and took that concept all over the country, and that's why we were so different, because nobody else really thought of doing what we did, and I often say we succeeded because of our ignorance. And
you weren't smart enough to know any better, so you did it anyway.
That's right. If we had listened to other people, we'd have never been successful, but we didn't, and we were just determined to go ahead. We thought we had a winning concept, and it ended up to be well, it basically spurned all of the shows that have become a part of the hot rod sport.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I was so thrilled to talk to you, because you've brought so much fun and joy to a lot of people, and you won a lot of awards, correct?
Well, yeah.
Come on, don't be modest.
Well, one of the big thrills was getting into the Hall of Fame at the SEMA show, which really knocked me for a loop. I never thought I would get in there. I'd been nominated many times. It was the kind of thing you just don't think is going to happen. And that was a huge thrill. That was in 2012, so that happened a while back. But yeah, I think that we set the trend for all of these events, and fortunately the shows are still going on, and fortunately for me, I still look forward to going to shows every year and to the show season. So. It's been a great thrill for me, and it started as a hobby, but it became a big business.
Well, yeah, you're the man who made it all happen, so that's
Thank
awesome. Getting back to the Mysterion, though, Ed Roth, he was really Big Daddy Roth. Sorry.
Yeah.
He actually even invented the Ratfink character, right? The cartoon character.
Well, that was the whole thing that really got him going, because he ended up, you know, with this Ratfink thing. They were on T-shirts and sweatshirts and all of that kind of thing.
I think I had one.
And he even got into Sears and stores like that. So, I mean, he became actually quite wealthy in a short period of time. Of course, he wasn't really a businessman. He was just a guy that loved creating things. You know, that's what it was all about. He had these crazy ideas, and they all became legendary. Also, he was the first one to get models made of his cars. Revell, which is a West Coast company, saw his cars, and they signed him to a contract, and they were the first ones to bring out a model of the Outlaw, the Bandit, and the Mysterion, and that spurned that whole model thing that took off like crazy with kids all over the country.
Now this one's an exact replica
Yes.
of the car. Whatever the mystery is, whatever happened to the original Mysterion?
Well, there's a whole bunch of stories about it. We had a lot of trouble keeping it together with the frame, and it finally became impossible to basically haul it. We were hauling these cars in semis, and even though we had air ride, the cars still took a terrible beating. And so I just finally decided to give up on the car.
Because it was more form than function, this one, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And supposedly Daryl Starbird ended up with part of the car. I don't actually know what happened to the body, and I swear I delivered the engines back to Roth.
It's a mystery, see?
But you know, you're talking about 60 years ago. I mean, who knows where it all really disappeared to? But it's that way not only with this car, but with a lot of the famous cars that were built. Everybody's always saying, "I wonder where that car is." And some are buried away in garages, and fortunately, some of them end up in these great collections, and the people can still see them.
Well, for people who want to know more about this and more about you and your legacy and your past, you've got a book out, correct?
Yeah, we do. Actually, I've published a number of books. Larry Erickson, a really well-known hot rodder who had designed cars for Boyd Coddington and for the Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, wanted to create some really great customs, and he approached me 4 years ago and said he thought that there was a great need for another book. There's been a lot of hot rod books published over the years, of course, and I was sort of questioning whether this would be a success, but he brought a whole different dimension to it, and he's a great designer, and of course I'm talking about Larry Erickson, and he really has put out a terrific book that's called Hot Rod Dreams, and it just came out, and we're just starting to distribute it nationally.
It's called Hot Rod Dreams.
Yeah, and Billy Gibbons wrote the foreword in it. So,
that's awesome.
That's a pretty good recommendation. So, yeah, and we have great hopes for it. And for me personally, it means I'm going to be traveling to a bunch of shows, and I love doing that. I get to see a lot of old friends, and I like the activity of just meeting people, talking to people. Yeah. A lot of them remember, you know, who I am and what I did, and we talk about the old days. So that's fun.
Well, you've given me a lot personally, a lot of great old days, because I've had so much fun at Autorama. Seriously. Yeah, if you want to see the Mysterion, come to us, Stahl's Auto Collection in Chesterfield Township. Bob might not be here. I might not be here, but who cares about us? This car's going to be here. And this is, if you're a hot rod fan, you got to see this car. Thanks again. Don't leave me hanging.
Thank you.